Good evening, everyone. Welcome to ThetaTalks. This is our second episode for the beginning of the year, and we have a really fun topic to explore today. I am just setting everything up. Hello, hello. There, there we go. Oops. Okay. Blooper. Okay, that was a blooper there. Let's see what happened. But there we go. Okay.
Hi, I'm back.
Hello, you're back.
I'm moving my phone. Um,
Okay.
Maisha, you want to just check your feedback? There's some feedback noise in the back. I don't know if there's something. Is there a fan or something running? Because I could hear it.
Let me just
Hello.
check what it is.
I mean,
And
it's
then
okay.
I'll restart again, right? Let's just make sure there's no noise.
Can you guys hear any feedback or are we good? Let us know. Hello, 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 everyone. So we're back at Talks. Me and Maisha are here with you for our second episode of Theta Talks. We started last week, and last week we talked about getting real about healing. So today our topic is IRL versus real life. So no, IRL versus virtual. So in real life versus virtual healing. Is there a difference? Is it the same thing? You know, a lot of people have some questions and concerns about doing healing via Zoom versus doing it in person with a therapist, counselor, or healer. So that's what we're talking about today. And by the way, Maisha, everyone says there's no feedback, so
Oh,
we're all
okay,
good.
good. Perfect.
All right. So Maisha, where do you want to start? I know you have a bunch of questions
So let's
about.
do something fun, right?
Okay.
Let's talk about I'll mention a statement and then we can kind of explore it and see, is it fact? Is it fiction? Is it true? Is it kind of in between, right? Because there's always an in between somewhere, right? So, this is a couple of questions that I do get from clients. I mean, because we have been doing sessions in person previously, right? So
hmm
I do get clients coming in and asking some questions. All right. Are you ready?
hmm
All right.
I'm ready. Ready for
So,
you.
fact or fiction? Face to face healings bring the magic of real connection.
Yeah, I mean, there's truth in that, that of course, we are human beings, we are physical beings. We like to touch and we like to connect with people. But, you know, we had a massive shift in the way we go about communicating and interacting with people during the COVID pandemic. And all of us learned how to shift from the in-person dynamic to working with people online. We did it out of necessity, me and you, Maisha. I know for
Absolutely.
a lot of people were off during the COVID pandemic. They were at home, you know, people were baking and they were doing these like great hobbies and Mary Kondoing their apartments, while you and I were like busier than we ever thought was possible during that time, just you know working with people and so on. So we learned very quickly how to switch from the in-person to the virtual experience, and of course it took a little bit of adjustment for us to get used to these things, but I know I felt really quickly, and I'd love to know how you felt, Maisha, but I transitioned into the online, session format very quickly, very seamlessly. And it almost felt like I've been doing it forever. And today, I would say more than 90, 95% of my clients are all virtual. So I barely do, IRL. I barely do in real life type of sessions anymore, simply because it works out better for my clients who live all over the world. It works out better for, avoiding traffic and not wasting time in some of these things. And also, as I have started to, you know, work with clients more regularly and consistently, as opposed to previously, I would just work with a lot of different clients. Now I work with people a little bit more consistently and work with them over a course of time. It helps me on Zoom to be able to really, take notes on what I'm working with them on and really using that to deepen my healing with my clients. So I've found ways to use the entire online opportunity to help me do even better with my sessions. Whereas in person, you're really just with the client in the space with them. And I wasn't really taking notes or keeping track of what we were doing from session to session.
Right.
And because of the nature of how theta is, right? You do the work and, you're in the space. And when you come out of it, you don't even necessarily remember everything that you're doing. So I know that the online format has been really helpful for me. What are your thoughts, Maisha?
No, I definitely agree with you. In terms of connection, I don't feel there is much difference in terms of how connected I feel to my clients.
Mhm.
And as you mentioned, I want to elaborate a little bit more on the fact that now my clients are from all over the world, whereas previously we were seeing, more local clients and less online. So that really broadened my ability to connect with different people and gave other people opportunities to experience theta healing or experience sessions in which they probably would never have had the opportunity to have this connection with us. I have clients coming in from referrals, obviously, but I have people coming on the website saying, I feel, when I looked at your picture, I felt such a connection. So I feel connection is really something that you can feel through a picture, through online, through being in person. I don't think it's something that has to necessarily always be something that you feel in person per se.
Absolutely. And then when we talk about that, if you're talking about connection, we talk about energy,
Yeah.
right? And energy is something that is everywhere. It's all around us. And I remember there was this quote that I posted on
I was hoping you would bring that
yeah,
up.
absolutely, and I have to actually go and look it up, but it's something about like how we take things like Wi-Fi for granted, or that we can speak from like from our mobile phones and call someone halfway around the world, and we don't raise our eyebrows at that, right? We're just like, oh yeah, that's totally normal, right? That's what we do. But if you talk about things like energy and healing across computers and continents, and people are like, what? That's just all woo woo shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's kind of really funny for me that we take things like microwaves and, you know, communication and Zoom calls and all of that is really normal for us. But when we talk about energy in the context of healing, in the context of, sensing each other, we're all like, oh, wait a minute, our defenses go up. So
Yeah.
it's the truth of the matter is that energy is something that can be felt whether you're in the same room or you are in another country.
Yeah.
And so when I'm working with a client, whether I'm scanning them across the Zoom screen, across my laptop screen, or I'm scanning them, in person, doesn't actually make any difference. So from an energy
Absolutely.
perspective, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah,
It doesn't
energy
matter.
knows no bounds, so I definitely agree with
Yeah.
that. And regardless of location, and I mean, testifying to it, the fact that we haven't gotten a physical space, and 95% of your clients and pretty much nearly 100% of mine is, online says and is a testament that people keep coming back, that people know it works, and it's regardless of whether it's in person or online.
Yeah, and absolutely. Just to speak to that as well, Maisha, like 15%, I would say, of my clients, 10 to 15% were virtual before the pandemic, and then it switched to 95%. And it's
Mm,
been, we're going on 5 years at this
yeah.
point. So we've been doing it this way for 5 years. And it doesn't matter whether I'm in Dubai and taking clients there or I'm in Manila. It really doesn't matter where I am in the world. I can still be in touch with my clients and I can continue to work with them. And the only time I'm not available is, on those times when I go off on family vacation. But it also allows me to stay connected with people wherever I am in the world, which is very helpful, when you want to be available and connected to your clients, because I know you and I both really care about the people we're working with. All right, let's go on to the next one. I like
So
this.
the next one is home sweet home, a distraction potentially,
Okay.
or a safe space or a safe haven for you to have a session. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, when we had a healing center in Manila and BGC, we had this beautiful space. And I have to be honest that it was amazing to have our clients come there, have a coffee, read a book in our bookstore. And then I would always be there working or hanging around there in between client sessions. And it was really nice to see my clients. It was really nice to chat with them. I totally do believe that there were so many beautiful experiences that we shared with our community, with people who frequented our center. Having said that, I do notice that there is a certain comfort level that people have when they are in their home,
Mm,
right? And when they're working on sometimes these really traumatic experiences in their
yeah.
life, they feel a little comfortable doing it in their own bedroom, in their own safe sanctuary,
In their
than
pajamas.
in their pajamas sometimes, rather than, getting into a car, braving through traffic, having a really rough day, can't find parking, and then coming to the
Mm,
center and running late. So there is, of course, the benefit that you can get the healing experience in a space that you feel very comfortable. And a lot of people do have spaces where it's something that they feel more relaxed in, or they feel like they can open up more. So from their perspective, I think that being in your own space is also powerful. Though I definitely do say having our beautiful in-person center was amazing when we had it. On the other hand, distractions, you mentioned something about distractions, and we are on laptops, and sometimes there are notifications and things like that. But I have not had experiences where with my clients that I feel like they're distracted.
mm,
I think when they're investing in a session with me, right, they want to spend every minute of that session getting as much healing as they can with me, right? So I think when you value what you're getting in the session and you know that it is in your best interest to be present, then I think people do avoid distractions and they do make it a point to be very present with me. And honestly, like in a lot of our sessions, you sometimes open up with some really deep emotions and feelings. You can't be distracted. You
yeah.
have to be very present. You don't have a choice, right? Like if you are feeling emotional or I make you, I ask you to keep your eyes closed, right? It's very hard for you to be distracted with all
Yeah.
these other things. And of course, you and I do things like we ask our clients to close their eyes to enhance the experience. So we have figured out and learned what are the best ways to provide the healing, create the healing space, hold the healing space, which is all about energy. We hold the space for our clients. And we do that whether they're in the same room or they're, down the street. It doesn't really matter, or in another country. So I do think that it is just as comfortable, sometimes even more, in your own space, and distractions haven't been much of a threat for me, haven't been a problem. What about you? What have you experienced with your clients, Maish?
I was just gonna say, personally, as a healer, right, it is easier for me to take in more clients being in this dynamics, right? And being able to stay focused. And then I don't have to have those gaps of, like you mentioned, the traffic and the or maybe outside the center, somebody might be talking, or, those are distractions which I used to potentially experience before. So those things have really, I value now a lot. I like the fact that I don't have to sit in traffic or wait or be annoyed because the noise outside, or so that has been very beneficial. And as you mentioned, it's a safe space in your own home, and that's a great way to be able to open up, right? When you are seeing somebody new and you feel in that familiar atmosphere. So I definitely agree with the points that you mentioned as well. And that's really what I've experienced too.
Yeah. So, okay, great. Let's jump on to the next one you have for us.
So the next one is Wi-Fi woes can disrupt the flow. Okay, so
Technical
I think
glitches, right?
like,
Wi-Fi goes down. And that actually happened to me today. I had a client and it was like a 2 o'clock session, and literally at 1:59, my Wi-Fi just like, it went unstable and then it just like turned off. And I was like, oh gosh. And I had to message my client being like, look, I have to restart. Got it sorted out in a minute or two. And of course, Wi-Fi does go down. And sometimes there are problems where you don't have connectivity. But hey, as healers, we can get sick. Our energy levels go down sometimes, and we can't
mm,
make it to our own sessions in person, right? So whether we do have these tech issues or whether we have, physical health issues, we caught the flu, or, maybe it's raining too hard and we can't make it to the space, or there's a lot of traffic, or there's no parking. So there are always going to be, I think, you know, reasons why a session cannot
push
happen,
through. Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
push through. So I don't feel like just because we are working with Wi-Fi, we are at a disadvantage. But I have to share something that I've been wanting to share with my Theta Healing students, and I had an opportunity to do that the other day, but for some reason I hesitated. So maybe this is a good time to share, because everything is energy. And this is why I find everything just so orchestrated by the universe, right? Is I notice when there are days where I don't feel 100%, I notice that my client cancels because of
Mm.
something, some unavoidable circumstance. They can't make it and they cancel, right? Or let's say I have a deadline and I've got something due. I also find that my schedule gets reorganized. A client asks to move the session down. Something happens where it just feels like the universe is working with me and my schedule, because I generally have a super packed schedule. As you know, I have people who are on a waiting list a couple of weeks ahead. I mean, I usually get booked up at least a month ahead. And sometimes, I have people messaging me and they're like, Sanaya, I can't get a session with you for like 3 weeks. What do I do? And when they do contact me, I see if I can kind of make it work. But if they're meant to get a session, I will get a cancellation the next day. And boom, they're in. So I've seen these things happen where sometimes they're really meant to work with me and sometimes they're meant to work with someone else. So the client who messaged me the other day and was like, Sanaya, I can't get a session with you for another like 3 weeks and I need one now. And I was like, look, I can offer you this and I can offer you another option, but none of those options worked. And instead, I believe that person ended up working with you independently of our conversation. And I really think you are the better person, more well suited to work with this client. So it really feels like there's a certain flow, there's a certain alignment, the right things and the right schedule happens the way we need it to be. So, and one more thing to add to that, Maisha, is like sometimes I wonder, do I feel like I needed the extra time because my client was already going to cancel? So it's not like I can't be responsible for my client canceling the session. I don't have that much power, right? But I do think I know beforehand when they're going to cancel, and that seems to be like how we work with the universe. It's like we
Yeah.
almost know something's going to happen before it does, or, someone who's supposed to be on our schedule gets on there. And so this is really just how energy works and how healing works. So just wanted to share that.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I think it really puts into perspective about energy. I wanted to also add what we were discussing earlier is, when we have to cancel or when the client cancels, like you said, you might have had something you needed to do. So it's not like, oh my God, they canceled on me. It's sort of like, okay, I can just move on to something else, or I can give somebody the slot because they're able to probably, need 15 minutes to put themselves together, right? So it gives the online aspect of things really also help in terms of turnaround time and being able to adjust and accommodate as well.
Yeah, like if someone cancels, which a lot of times it happens at the last minute, right? Someone cancels, then you can put someone else in because they're in the
Yeah,
comfort of their home. They don't have to actually have to
exactly.
get to the
Somewhere.
center. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I do see like there's a lot of benefits to working in this kind of format for both the client and for us. So absolutely. But I don't want to completely deny the value of
Of in person, yeah.
in person,
Mm,
right? You and I have both learned that this is something we learned in Theta Healing and some of the more earlier classes, that our cells talk to each other. So when I hold your hand, right, Maisha, right away, I'm reading how you're feeling. I'm reading your emotional state. I'm reading perhaps, what you're feeling about something, what thoughts are there that I need to pick up in order to help you as your
yeah.
theta healer, right? So there is a huge opportunity to be able to physically touch people and to sense things. Having said that, you and I have both been theta healers for a long time. I've been doing it almost 20 years. Maisha also, I think, more than a decade. It's been a while for both of us that we pick up stuff from people all the time, right? Like I'll
Regardless, yeah.
be regardless, like even without touching anybody, I get insights about people all the time. Like, my husband had a bad day, but he's not saying anything about it. Of course, we feel the energy of the people we love, but I can pick up also right away what is his emotional
Yeah.
state just because I can hear his thoughts without even being near him. Or on the other hand, there might be another situation where I was just on the phone with somebody and a pregnant friend, and I was like, oh my God, you're gonna have a baby boy. And true enough, I just mentioned it to this person that I was speaking to, and I was like, oh, you're gonna have a baby boy. And then um she just said, okay, we'll see if you're right. And then she gave birth this January and she really had a baby boy. So I just got that insight. I didn't mean to read that, and she didn't ask me, to guess what the sex of her baby is, but it just came to me. And I think that's how it is for us, is that we get the right insights and inspiration and intuition, whether we are like holding someone's hand or not. I
Or
do
not, yeah.
feel, and I know you believe in this too, that the creator gives you the insight you need, gives you the information you need to be there for the people you love, and also to be there for the people who've asked us for help. So that is part of what we do as healers with our clients.
And with that, we don't need any Wi-Fi or connect internet connection to do that. We're always connected to Creator. So
Love that.
that
I love that. I love how you turned that around, and the whole Wi-Fi conversation became a connection with the source, with the universe, with the creator. Absolutely.
so we can be
Um,
anywhere basically,
yeah,
so
we can be anywhere. And, a lot of times my clients will message me and be like, Sanaya, can you do a scan? I've got this, or I
yeah.
need, and um, these are people that I work with. And true enough, like whether they ask me for that for a particular reason or I get a gut feeling that they need some support, I'll drop them a message and they're like, "Oh my God, I was just thinking about contacting you," right? Like that happens all the
All
time
the time. Yeah.
for us, right? With our clients, where we almost know they need us for something, or we say the right thing that they needed to hear,
Or
or,
what
we,
happens to me is sometimes I think about my client, and the next thing you know, I see that there's a booking for a session. So it's either they probably needed it and was thinking about me, or I connected with them that way. So that's what
yeah.
happens too.
So you're right. When you say we really are connected, we're connected to our clients, we're connected to the source, which guides our healing, and we're connected to our practice, right? Our theta healing practice, which helps us serve other people better. And it doesn't matter whether we are in person or we are doing it virtually, we are serving our clients in the best capacity that we can. I have not by any means seen a difference in efficacy or results between in person and online. I have seen instant healing, soulmates being manifested, diseases reversing, cancer going into remission, all kinds of stuff happening just as frequently on Zoom, virtually as in person. And I almost want to say I've seen more of it through my virtual sessions, but that's because, in the last 5 years,
We're
I'm a better
seeing more
healer.
clients
I'm
too. Yeah,
seeing
absolutely.
more clients, and I'm a better healer today than
Mm,
I was 5 years ago,
yeah,
right? Because I've had more experience since then, or I've been working, with a more variety of different kinds of issues and backgrounds. So it's obviously given me a better understanding of what affects different kinds of people. So, yeah,
so let's do a last one really quickly, right?
okay,
Before we round up.
okay.
Is online healing a leap of faith?
Ooh.
Ah.
I mean, any kind of healing, right, is a leap of faith. Whether you're doing it in person or you're doing it online, it is always a leap of faith. But it is not a leap of faith in you or me. It is not a leap of faith in the person doing the healing, right? Or even the creator. It is a leap of faith because you're believing in your potential. You're
Absolutely.
believing in yourself. You are prioritizing your well being, whether that's mental, physical, emotional, right? Psychological. It is really about committing to the possibility, the opportunity, and the blessing of being able to shift and change whatever's not working for you, whether that's a physical disease or a mindset that is getting in your way. Um,
It's beautiful.
Thank you. So I'm just reading some comments in the chat, Maisha. So we've got Zian asking, how do I feel compared to before and after the healing? I mean, Maisha, you want to take that one?
As in, regardless, in person or online?
Yeah, I think the question is, how do I feel before a healing and after a
Oh,
healing? And
oh.
and to one more thing, Zian, this is live right now. Go
So,
ahead.
generally, with my clients, when they come in, um, they feel or have overwhelming emotions, right? They don't know where they stand. They may feel a little bit lost. They may not feel that they know, um, or they're not where they want to be, right? So, usually, what happens through the healing is we uncover, unravel, we heal, we explore, we understand, we get to the bottom of why they're feeling what they're feeling. And then after the session, they usually feel lighter, they usually feel energized, they usually feel with more clarity and perspective as well. So, in terms of
Relieved.
relieved, that's a
Relieved.
good word.
They feel
Relieved.
relieved because whatever they came in for, which felt like this heavy load, it felt like, life, like the situation was helpless, or they felt hopeless, or they felt overwhelmed. And it was just, they felt so heavy.
And everything connects by that time,
Yeah.
now they understand, and they're ready to sort of take whatever action is required, usually,
Yeah.
to make that shift, whether
And then
it's emotional, whether it's actually, taking the next step.
by the end of the session, almost all of my clients specifically say this: I feel lighter.
Yes.
I feel better. I feel more relaxed. I feel like, oh, I can do this. I feel like it's not as bad as I thought it was. It's actually there's some kind of solution or resolution or clarity, like you said. So that's really beautiful. Okay.
Awesome.
All right, Maish, we have two things to do before we end today's IG Live Theta Talks session. The first thing is to tell our viewers what our topic is for next week. So for me, it's like this is the unveiling,
Drum
it's the
roll.
reveal. What are we talking about? Because Maisha and I, like, we had so much fun coming up with these topics. And we just feel like, oh my God, these are just such no-brainer topics. Like, this is what people want to know.
And
This
it
is what
just
people
keeps
have been
coming.
asking.
It just keeps
Yeah, we're
coming.
like, oh my God, we have to talk about this and we have to talk about this. So we're like really excited. So our topic for next Tuesday is, who does the healing? Is it
Mm.
Maisha? Is it me? Who's doing the healing, right? Who can we credit? All these instant healings, miraculous healings, these mindset shifts. Who's doing the healing? And that, I'm sure, is going to be a pretty interesting convo, right, Maish?
Fun
Um,
episode for sure.
yeah. So we're looking forward to that. And then the last thing is a virtue card. Will you do the honors, Maisha?
Oh, yes.
I don't have
Oh,
my
yes.
virtue card box with me, if you don't mind
Here we
grabbing.
go. Where is it? It's right here. Okay.
All right. So we're going to pick a card. Jelly's like, I know. Can I answer? She wants to answer, who does the healing? You know, I know you know the answer, Jelly, and a lot of you who are watching also do know the answer, like, who does the healing, right? But I would love to break that down to really understand, what is the construct by which we understand who does the healing, right? I want to talk about some little trippy stuff and kind of cool stuff, and just get a little deep into that answer. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. All right, Maisha, tell me, what is our virtue card for today?
The card that I got is integrity.
Wow. Wow. Integrity. I love that, because integrity is so relevant to this conversation about in real life versus virtual healing. That it doesn't matter, right? Where you're doing the healing, how you're doing the healing, on what platform, right? What matters is the integrity of the healer to help their client, to help whoever you and I are working with. It's the integrity. And I can speak for you and me, though I'm going to, definitely toss the ball over to you. But you and I do this because we love how it makes us feel when we've worked with a client. I know personally, I feel that I heal a little bit more with every client that I work with, and I learn so much about, life, and I learn
Mm.
so many lessons that I can apply to my own life and share with others. But I also really appreciate that the opportunity to be part of somebody else's healing, and to wake up excited, right? Like, what am I going to work on today? And um, you know, what exciting revelations are going to come from these sessions. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Tell me about you.
Well, what's coming up for me is that aspect that, ripple effect when I work with somebody or when we work with somebody. It's not just about working with them. What ends up happening is when they shift, then their reaction to other people shift, and how they act also shifts. And hence,
Right.
those people are now interacting with other people, and hence, it's such a ripple effect. And And I think that's a very big responsibility. And I carry that responsibility with such integrity because, I'm not just shifting one person when I'm doing the healing. It's it's helping so many others. And I'm so lucky. We are so lucky to be able to do this every single day. How we
Totally.
always wanted to be superheroes as a kid. We get to change the world, every single day, every single client that we get to work with, which is awesome.
I love that you said that, Maisha, because I've always liked those TV shows where people have like special powers and, they save the world and stuff. And of course, we obviously must have a little bit of that hero complex, but I think it genuinely comes from a place of love. I remember there was one show that I watched when I had first gotten married. So it must have been like 2011. Forgot what it's called, but it's like a bunch of kids with all these different powers. And it was a really long show. It was going on for like many, many seasons. But anyway, I remember thinking, here they are making fiction about, kids with all these really cool abilities like mind reading and traveling through time and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but we already do that in theta healing, right? Like, this is like normal stuff for us. And like, we watch it on
Bending
like a
time, moving
yeah,
objects. Yeah,
we do
baby stuff.
that. Right? Like this is for us, like our world just looks a lot different than the average person simply because of all these really fun, cool things. And by the way, I have two more topics, Maisha, we have to talk about. Number one is like cool stuff that we do with theta healing,
Ah, that's
right?
a good one.
Yeah. And another one is like, as a theta healer, do we take on people's
Mm,
like negative energy? Do
energy. Yeah.
do we do we feel drained? Like how do we feel after a session? Does it take from us to heal other people? Because I know there are people who are curious about being healers and might be a little nervous about, what that will require of them. So
Yeah.
that's another great topic.
Awesome. So before we leave, I'd love to invite everybody or anybody who would like an opportunity to experience this breakthrough or what we call emotional breakthrough. We'll have a link at the end of or in our caption, and that will give you an opportunity to experience this in a 20-minute sort of teaser, right? To get to understanding what is possible and how your world can really shift through data healing.
So, what you're basically inviting people to is to experience in 20 minutes what is this theta healing we're talking about, right? Like, I know that a lot of people are curious. I know you might want to try it out, but you're not ready to commit 100% to a session. You're like, I just want to dip my toes in, right? So if that's the case, then we do invite you to a emotional breakthrough session. And as Maisha said, if you go to the Third Eye Wellness Instagram, hit the caption for this live video and you will see the link to that. And I think I'm also going to drop the link. It's bit.ly/emotional dash breakthrough. All right. So that's bit.ly /emotional dash breakthrough. So if you are someone who has never tried theta healing before and you are interested in just, getting a glimpse of what we're talking about, you are invited to just try it out. There's no pressure. We just want you to like try it out and feel it, feel what downloads are like, what it might feel like to just experience a sense of clarity or breakthrough. So join us for emotional breakthrough with Maisha. All right, you guys, it has been a great second episode, and thankfully, Tech was cooperating with us. Not like
Cooperating
our
on
first
time.
session, right? Like our first session, it was like, oh my God, Maisha's internet Wi-Fi went down, and then mine was also kind
Ah,
of spotty. I don't know what was happening. So I think it was maybe just a
success.
little bit of yeah. So now we're all sorted and we're ready. So every Tuesdays, you guys, 8:30 to 9 p.m. You will hear Maisha and I just laugh and have a great time talking about all these cool topics that we've come up with about theta healing. And I think it would definitely give you some food for thought, and help you understand a little bit more about what theta healing is and how incredible it is. All right, you guys, lots of love. Stay happy, stay great. We love you guys.
Have a great week.